The Ukraine Crisis Media Center continues its work, and now we are going to speak about low-carbon development in Ukraine, ratification of Paris Agreement, and today our participants are professional experts and the Ministry of Ecology. And please welcome on stage.
Thank you for joining us today. I am pleased today to announce to you the beginning of the Low Emissions Development Strategies Action Plan process in Ukraine that is designed and developed to implement the commitments of the Paris Agreement for Ukraine, not only for the reduction in greenhouse gas emissions to address the global problem of climate change, but also as a means for improving the economic, energy, resource, and environmental well-being of Ukraine. The program that we launched yesterday in response to the Paris commitments is being conducted through the support of the United States Agency for International Development. The Municipal Energy Reform Project, as it is known, includes a number of international experts and collaborators, including the Center for Climate Strategies, where I lead the group, but also Agility Corporation and a number of partners here in Ukraine. This process is designed to accomplish multiple goals at the same time, which capitalize on our opportunities today to combine opportunities in energy and environment and economy at the same time so that we're able to improve our goals and priorities in all of those areas. It is a part of a global trend that we are seeing a shift in the way we approach policy and investment in markets worldwide so that they are lower footprint, higher efficiency, and designed to serve the needs of a world that increasingly relies on sustainable and secure approaches to the way we manage our economy and the way that we use natural resources in the process. The LEDS action planning process that was launched yesterday will include working with the Minister of Ecology working group of 25 people, but also over 100 people who are joining us from government agencies, from private businesses, from civil society, to ensure that we will be including the concerns and the expertise and the commitments from a wide range of people and institutions here in Ukraine to produce a plan of action that can be implemented with the assistance not only of the government here in Ukraine, but also other interested parties outside Ukraine who have been helping us, including USAID, with the launch of this program and are extremely interested in supporting a successful outcome that can help this country. So we're looking forward very much to the beginning of this process and being one of the first countries to have moved forward with Paris commitments through a formal, defined action planning process that will be designed to accomplish multiple outcomes and build ultimately more willpower and ambition for more actions that will be needed here and in other countries. So again, it's a great pleasure to be with you here today. And on behalf of everybody who is involved in this program and everybody who is involved in reaching the agreement in Paris, we look forward very much to our chance to work with you. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot to Thomas Peterson, who is the president of Strategic Strategies of the United States. My name is Ganna, I'm MP, non-partisan, and actually today is symbolic day, the Day of Earth, and Ukraine is going to be one of the signatories to the Paris agreement in New York. And this morning, when the Minister of Foreign Affairs was in Parliament, Mr. Klimkin, and we asked him how realistic it is for Ukraine by the end of the year to have signed or ratified this agreement to demonstrate the concerted actions between different branches of authority in Ukraine, so that Ukraine is one of the signatories of the Paris Climatic Treaty, Climate Treaty, as it gives a chance for the Parliament of Ukraine to ratify that agreement. Also, start to work on the plan of actions of the low carbon development of Ukraine. It's good that we have our foreign partners, the Minister of the Protection of the Environment, and the drawing up of this document actually makes provision for the implementation of the Paris Agreement provisions, and whatever is associated with that, like signing this document. We expect that this agreement, this treaty, will enable us to attract the investments to modernize the outdated structure which is in place in this country. It's very important that at last we are going to have an opportunity. Okay, I'll come back to the 1992 for Rio de Janeiro conference when they introduced such a term as this sustainable development, and what Mr. Peterson mentioned a few minutes ago. It's very important to balance of the interests of the environment, economy, etc., etc. It is of critical importance that along those lines in this development we could make our progress. I would like to say that low carbon development is the global trend which makes provision for different application of different measures in order to use the low carbon kinds of brands of fuel, which is one of the top priority issues of the economic development of Ukraine. And we do expect that the newly appointed government, the new government, will guarantee a more fast pace of the development of economy in the specific sphere. This kind of fuel use, etc., etc. We know that next week, during the National Council of Reforms, they're going to consider one of the issues of energy efficiency, among others. And next week, we are going to consider the signing of this Paris Climate Treaty. We're going to take necessary steps to speed up to its rate necessary steps. Now I would like to turn the mic to Ganna Vronska, the Deputy Minister of Ecology and Natural Resources, on the issues of European integration. Thank you very much. Good afternoon. Once again, I would like to wish you happy Day of Earth. They so coincided that today in New York, Ukrainian representatives are going to sign the Paris Climate Treaty, and Ukraine actually participated in the Paris Summit in December last year, and we're really happy that almost all the countries of the world pooled their efforts and decided to adopt this agreement. And this agreement, when the agreement will be open for signing, Ukraine is going to join the pool of the countries, and our representative, Mr. Ryabchyn, will, on behalf of Ukraine, sign that document. What I'd like to say that this agreement is just the first let's say preliminary step. Then we have to work on some other international documents. But this treaty also makes provision for some commitments to be undertaken by some member states. First of all, we're talking about the development of the strategy of sustainable development. We have to understand that the era of the fossil fuel is over. We have to switch over to other, let's say, the renewable source of energy. Now our ministry is still working on the climatic and other strategies. So we proceed from the fact that Ukraine cannot, take care separately of this strategy. Different strategic approaches must be united, and this sustainable development must be the grounds to unite our efforts for the strategic and economic development of our country. Of course, we're going to talk about the energy efficiency and the using renewable source of energy. But first of all, we have to realize that Ukraine has to undertake the single approach which will enable our country in the future to approach the available resources in a more thrifty way, to introduce necessary approaches and steps to achieve that. And actually, Ukraine is one of those countries which is going to sign in New York the above-mentioned treaty to demonstrate its intentions within the scope of the global trend. And I believe that despite the difficulties, economic difficulties we are living through in this country today, in the Verkhovna Rada, in the Parliament of Ukraine, they're going to take care of all the necessary set of package of the documents which are instrumental in order to ensure the implementation of our climatic, economic, and ecological strategy. Thanks a lot for your attention. Esteemed colleagues, are there any questions to the speakers? No questions, but well, perhaps I would like to ask you to explain to us. You mentioned some of the mechanism or the tools which can be used in order to implement this provisions of this agreement. So could you mention what kind of steps you could expand in the future? What else we have to do as signatories by the end of this year or over the period of 3 years, step by step? There is a political process. This is the first day when this treaty is open to signing. And over the period of 1 year, all the countries concerned stand a chance to sign it. The treaty will be enforced, let's say, or put into will enter into force when 55 countries will sign them. So then we have the period of 3-year period of time. We have this luxury for this 3-year period, but maybe we are going to act faster. For example, we can develop the plan of implementation of this treaty on the national level for us to see how this treaty or this agreement is going to work in this country. Well, political commitments or economic commitments, whatever else, and the mechanism will depend upon each individual country, in this respect. But we are going to involve the Minister of Energy Efficiency Agency, and other profile ministers and departments. And this is going to be a kind of concentrated or the pooled efforts type of work. I don't know whether we're going to have some working group or some other format, but now we have a trend if we are talking about the climatic, energy, and economic aspects must be coordinated and be everything must be accepted in one package, so to say. Do I understand you correctly that in fact when this treaty is going to be put into force, all the decisions which this way or another way could be in some way related to whatever is related by the provision of this agreement could be considered by some profile committees. So, whatever is adopted today must be considered through the prism of this agreement. And we are talking about this sphere of energy efficiency. We have to consider everything through the prism of the aspects of this agreement. In the ideal, in the perfect case, it would be like that. But so far, we have the Prime Minister in charge of the ecology and the environment, whatever. But it demonstrates that the world global trends are not going to be applied in Ukraine. Whatever policy we are talking about, those are the different aspects of one whole. The Paris Agreement is a comprehensive document. All our internal things, we are going to work on those on our own. And of course, when the countries approach the period of signing this kind of document, I believe that whatever we're going to do will be done as fast as possible. Ganna, maybe you have something to add. It's very important for this agreement to be at the level of implementation of each and every one of the Ukrainian citizens. I believe that it's of key importance. And this can be done by any member of the humankind if they will have a thrifty attitude toward the different energy resources. And this actually envisages the saving of electric power or natural gas consumption, whatever. I'll give you just a very simple example what is our attitude towards the forested area. We can see how many fallen trees are just, you can find on the trees which they were, somebody took care of cutting them, and they just, okay. And a lot of European countries, they focus their attention on using the alternative kinds of energy, and we have a very good example of the Nordic countries, Scandinavian countries like Sweden, Danube, Norway. They set the model to follow, in this specific respect in their attitude towards the environment. I believe in Ukraine we have a lot of different resources which could help Ukraine to become energy independent country, energy independent from Russia. This is the issue of the national security, and this global agreement, actually we are talking about the global trend, which makes provision for everybody to use, each and every one to use this kind of approach to energy saving approach. We were last year we were entertaining the energy saving contracts, which will allow every company to save the funds on energy. And you are talking about the energy efficient cities, and Svetoslav Pavliuk is very instrumental in doing with that. If you're talking about the town Dolina, we have the budget 25 million hryvnia, and in addition to that, 40 million hryvnia they attracted from international funds in order to use them in order to ensure the energy saving project. And then, for example, they use a lot of straw. For example, you compact the straw, it can be used as another source of energy, alternative source. We can see that our factories gradually switch over to the solid kinds of fuel. This must become the priority of the public policy when the government and the parliament have to provide support to those companies who would like to invest their money into energy saving. So I'm all for the situation when each Ukrainian citizen understands that if he can save resources in his or her everyday activities, this will help a lot to our country. And together with different ecological environmental organizations the world over, or in this country, they can sit down at the same table and voice their opinion that the Ukraine has to embark upon the road of energy saving, because this is tantamount to the issue of the national security and our freedom and independence from the Russian gas, and all the calculations which will help Ukraine to become energy independent country, which is of critical, vital importance to all of us. Thank you. Unfortunately, we are almost exhausted our time for this briefing. I would like to thank everyone who participated in this briefing, and I believe that this agreement will actually be instrumental in working on the grassroots level. And thank you very much for your participation here in the next briefing.